and not too shabby. Nothing too incredible on you here. Won't pick up the plate mail of armor resistance at the moment. And let's see what we have. Brand weapon, lovely. More ID, always happy. And Quicksilver is fantastic. I would still definitely make the argument that that amulet is probably the shining star of this endeavor, but still happy to see it. And yeah, you're new to the game. Well, welcome. You're having a very good run, playing Mummy Necromancer and doing very well. Oh wow, well, that's impressive. For being new to the game and doing well with a mummy, I feel like it's not too often that those sentiments are displayed hand in hand, so that's awesome. But yeah, so you mentioned you're new to the game. That's completely new. How are you finding it so far? Are you fairly experienced with dungeon crawlers in general? Oh, son of a gun. I think it collapsed in the one turn after we got back out. I was hoping we could squeeze in both timed portals. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but not the end of the world here either. Did get, yeah, some incredible stuff. I didn't even notice the fire staff until right before we left, so very happy with that as well. In fact, maybe I deserved not being able to make it to the ice caves because I wasted time pillar dancing. Unfortunately, needs must, and I did want to do our very best to survive, at least for the moment here. And it would have been fairly painful if we had immediately died after finding such an incredible amulet there. You know, I hate to go on and on about it, but I feel like I could wax poetically about that rand art. Because it basically fulfills all the niches I always struggle with. Specifically, I have a hard time with feeling like regeneration is just incredible, and I always enjoy an amulet of regeneration on any style of character, but I love reflection. Reflection is just more fun. Even if it's not quite as effective on a lot of different characters, I can't help but get a dumb grin on my face anytime we reflect, especially something like an Orb of Destruction directly back. You know, return to sender in the greatest of fashions. Been playing for the last month or so, but yeah, you've played a ton of CDDA, that's Cataclysm, right? That's something that I feel like I need to give a bit more of a try at some point. I definitely enjoyed it, but I feel like it came to me, or I started trying it out at a time that I was very much still in the throes of DCSS, and it's hard to switch off of anything just because of how much I enjoy this this game in terms of entries in the genre. But yeah, it was totally alien, or it was not totally alien when you started. Yeah, definitely a lot of transferable skills, though with any of these games, I feel like there is a huge learning period where you're just trying to get a handle on the unique mechanics that are available to that specific game, but no, very cool. Yeah, again, always extremely happy to see new faces in the community. Even though I'm not as active as I would like in said community, it's still always fantastic to see because of my love for the game. You, my bloodthirsty shark friend, might be a little bit of a problem. Hopefully one of these 30% works. No? And now you're enraged, and that's going to be a problem. Again, there's some part of me that just wants to knuckle down and get through this. I guess we could potentially just pull some magic. We've dealt no damage to our shark friend here, though, so it's not a great start. Do I go for one more paralyze? How am I feeling about rolling the dice here? I guess before we, you know, try to just hope that our usual luck kind of pulls through and lets us get through this in one piece, what is the actual correct thing to do here? Potentially, we could read teleport and just reset this fight, seeing as how we're not in a great spot. You have a lot of HP. You're going to be hitting like a truck here as well. In fact, there's no real guarantee that the teleport even has time to activate, but let's get it churning, get it going in the background, and then immediately get the paralysis. Perfect. That's exactly what exactly what we were hoping for. Oh, love to see it. Well, I'll smack you once before the teleport takes us into another dimension. Or I guess just another spot within this one if we're being a little more honest with ourselves. But there we go. Spells you cast may paralyze nearby enemies. Okay, so not actually just adjacent. Again, I feel like it's been too long since I played a Demonspawn. I'm back to being slightly in the dark for all the mutations and what exactly they entail in a specific level. But regardless, very happy to see it. I feel like that has been and will continue to be a lifesaver as we continue to make our way through the dungeon in whole here. So love to see it. Found Cataclysm more complex. With it, all of its systems are very hard to learn, but DCSS is hard in the fact that you're only ever fighting for 95% of the time. True. Yeah, I feel like Cataclysm has a lot of like pseudo-realism. Does it have almost more like survival style mechanics tacked on to the classic roguelike? Again, I would not presume to have much knowledge with my very, very limited dipping of the toes into the game, but I do remember a lot of, yeah, very kind of in-depth mechanics. Well, I feel like, you know, DCSS is a very mechanics-first game. It at least is, yeah, more straightforward. It's generally all combat positioning. As long as you have those two fundamentals kind of in your grasp, new enemies, especially in this kind of version of the game where we've just gone more and more explicit info in these descriptions over the past like 5 updates or so. And so that's been a huge boon for new players, because I feel like when I very first started playing the game, I mean, not only was I in no way, shape, or form getting close to a victory or even really doing the research, I was just a young kid who saw a free game and thought, that seems cool, let's try it out. And so I got nowhere, and it was more so a fun little role-playing endeavor where I just played nothing but Merfolk Crusaders over and over again because I liked the general vibes of them. Spell swords have always been a favorite for me in RPGs, even though nowadays when I'm a little more focused on trying to get wins in DCSS, I find myself very rarely kind of folding my character into a hybrid style approach, and usually it's a bit more of a focused assault in one specific way or another. But yeah, Cataclysm has the best crafting system you've ever run into. Oh, that's really cool. You've been reading a ton, you're like, what's this, do that? Oh yes, the joys of learning a new roguelike. No, I think that's a very, very fair assessment. Gloves, which we, I guess, might as well put on, even though, again, they're going to get shredded by our ever-extending fingernails mutation here at some point. At least until that eventuality, we can have that slight increase to our defensive capabilities. And that should be fantastic. Hello, my yak friends. I feel like, again, I'm getting too comfortable. I'm getting into those mid-stage hubris habits here where I'm starting to tab my way towards groups of enemies, almost as if I were playing a hybrid style character. And like that, I even did it again, and this time it was even more silly because a Black Mamba is not something I want to fight in melee whatsoever. Pack of yaks, yak pack, definitely hit back and all that good stuff, but let's not be too silly about it, shall we? Though when you get the vibe that Cataclysm has a learning curve or style that's more like Caves of Cud. Yeah, I'm trying to... Sorry, I completely mentally blanked there for a moment as I was trying to like go through the Rolodex of memories and figure out... Because Caves of Cud is one that always comes to mind for me when I think of roguelikes. I don't know if I've ever actually played it. I don't know if I've even tried it out. It's definitely been on my radar for a long, long time. But for some reason, again, probably because I was kind of in the DCS zone, I haven't actually given it the time of day or, you know, tried it out to see how things work on that side of things. But Cataclysm is similar to Caves of Cud. Okay, interesting. So does Caves of Cud have, I guess, is it similar in regards to expanding the mechanics to be a little more present outside of combat orientation, you know, some of that survival stuff, some of that crafting stuff. But open world, lots of weird devices, random map, NPC interactions matter more, and there's invention themed stuff, but it's not like Cataclysm crafting. Oh, okay, cool. That reminds me, I feel like I did at one point do a little bit of experimentation into Tales of Maj'Eyal, I think. And that one was very overworld focused, unless I'm very potentially or very even likely conflating it with some other games in my head here, because it has been over a decade since I tried out basically any of the other main classics here. It's weird to think about in that light, because it's not felt like that long. Oh boy, how time flies. Getting old over here. Maj'Eyal is like if DCSS had skill trees in Diablo loot and the enemies are so random that multiple lives is basically necessary for balance. Hey, well that's a bit of a relief, because again, all I can remember from my limited time exploring into it was that I never got very far. So again, I'm just gonna, whether it's appropriate or not, I'm gonna put all the responsibility of that fact onto the game, because I definitely had no idea, or even though I had no idea what I was doing. Hey, Roog. We already dealt with one annoying Javelineer. You shouldn't be too much of a problem either, even though that was still probably not the right call there, if I had to guess. It was maybe a fight we should have, if not run away from entirely, at the very least laid out in a little more strategic of a manner, you know, tried to use our blast motes and whatnot, but hey, all is well that ends well. Degeneration potions. We're finally getting to the stage of the game where I'm starting to have a little less pure garbage to throw out. Though Staff of Death, now that we have the Ring of Positive Energy, is a little less of a factor, so we can drop a couple of things at the very least. Fantastic. To do well in Maj'Eyal, you kind of have to figure out or look up a good build and progression path through the game zones. That makes sense, especially with skill trees. As soon as skill trees expand to beyond a certain point, it essentially requires some amount of research. I feel like it's not in the dungeon crawler or the roguelike department, but a game that I've always had some peripheral interest in just because of how much I played Diablo growing up, and then I played like Torchlight with my partner. I think we played a couple of the Torchlight games together and had a lot of fun. So Path of Exile is something that has always been on my radar. I always tell myself that at some point I'll try it out, but I feel like I get very daunted by the skill trees in that, because that's a game that is so expansive in the skill trees that I feel like in order to at least have any kind of meta build, you have to do so much research into the different builds and what approach is best to take in that. But same for you, Domo. You could not get far into Caves of Cud, but you think you just more time with it if you want to get anywhere. As is, yeah, generally the case with these, but there's so many roguelikes out there. At some point, you just have to decide, like, these are my people. These are the ones I'm going to try out. I'm always happy to experiment and, you know, fool around in other ones. But in terms of putting in the time and effort to get consistent and be able to win in any meaningful capacity, I generally have to keep that limited. Unfortunately, life is just way too gosh darn busy these days. That's how I feel even about the, oh right, I totally forgot there was a time portal here, and I was just going for it. Oh, fun with all the auto-block chat messages. So I should probably just turn that off. Pretty much everyone that comes by here is pretty lovely and fantastic, and I don't think I've had to do much actually going through it, but don't worry, you gotta head out for dinner, have a lovely stream. Well, no, thank you so much for the raid again, I do appreciate it. I definitely hope to be able to return the favor at some point, though we'll see how our schedules line up, and yeah, no, have a great dinner, and yeah, welcome to the game. I hope you, if you haven't already in your first month gotten your first win, then I hope that it crops up soon, and yeah, awesome to have you around. Okie dokie, we have this, this volcano here. Don't have too much ability to deal with fiery sons of guns. At the very least, we have Stone Arrow. Oh, all tapped out. Let's try that again. At the very least, there we go. I have Stone Arrow here, so decent amount of damage for sure. Generally can carry us through. I'm trying to think, at experience level 12, layer 4, what do our volcanoes look like? I feel like for whatever reason, my luck is way more partial to ice caves. Ice caves I see in almost every run I do. Volcanoes is a bit more rare, or at least when they do show up, I feel like I'm generally pretty prepared for it. And so it doesn't become too much of a factor one way or another. But you know, I feel like we could hum and ha ifs and buts all day here. So maybe we just head in. We at least have fire resistance. We have that stone arrow. We can leave if need be. So let's see what's going on here, shall we? Yeah, stone arrow definitely doing a pretty solid job early on. I'd like you, my friend, to come my direction. Thank you. Do appreciate it. And okay, do you want, let's not get too cocky with things. I don't think this is one of the areas that can erupt, at least. Or if it did, I feel like it would have had to have done so by now. So, you know, by omission, I feel like it's not something we have to worry too much about. And yeah, those mutations just carried us through it. Oh. And the game immediately corrects us with an eruption. Fantastic. Oh, silly old me. It looked like a pretty tiny one. Oh, air is thick with sulfur. I don't know if this is a safe corner. Safe enough, at least? What the heck is going on here? I feel like this has been way more straightforward and simple than it has any right to be. But hey, some salamandus could make me eat those words. Especially, yeah, some polearm buddies here. Yeah, look at that damage coming through. Look what you did. Oh, what a trooper. They're doing their best out here. But again, yeah, if we can just continue this habit of fighting you one at a time, that would be lovely. In fact, maybe we'll change our quivered spell to stone arrows, seeing as how that's going to be pretty much our tried and true go-to method of dealing with this entire zone. And there go our gloves. We knew it was coming eventually. It always feels too soon, but such is life. Ooh, magma gargoyle did not see us, so fortunately we can continue our safety pattern here. Step away from the door. And you, my friend, come right this way. Thank you. Beautiful. Oh, jeez. Sorry, did not see you there. My apologies, friend. Fortunately, wasn't too much of a concern, because I was worried that that molten gargoyle would be smashing us to bits, but you know, actually that Hell Knight almost gave us a little bit more trouble than the former. But not anything we can't handle. Beautiful. We have an evening star of flaming. Sure, I'll pick you up for now. Why the heck not? We could even try to take you. I don't know. We don't have a lot of garbage that I really want to toss away from our inventory. That's probably pretty quickly going to change once we do find ourselves with more ID scrolls at our disposal, but for the moment here, not too sure. Ice caves are definitely more common. You've entered 317 ice caves for only 127 volcanoes. Okay, so it's not just me. There's not some kind of experience bias going on, and that does follow in line with the numbers. Good to know. It's a little bit ironic because I feel like I generally feel safer going through the volcanoes. Or at least, you know, there's a bit more of a straightforward binary, where if I have fire resistance, I'm happy to do volcano and can usually get through in one piece, at least on a, you know, an average to better character. But ice caves are fairly hit or miss in my experience. Especially since, again, you can never really be 100% sure that you're going to get a nice themed one, and that gives my mind a little bit of leeway to wander and start thinking that I can bite off more than I can chew. which is generally the most terrible approach in DCSS in particular. Blink frogs could be a little bit of a pain in the rear. I also do believe, yeah, we'll bring back invocations, trying to get divine exegesis to a castable level so that we can start slinging out some wild spells in our desperate times. In fact, like, disjunction is a lifesaver. Hoping that we'll end up with, like, revivification, potentially something like Death's Door. Those are usually my go-to exegesis spells when on a character that is already a caster. Someday I do want to get back into trying out the melee Sif Worshipper, where you just basically slap on the heaviest armor you can, generally play as any melee would, but you have the backup that you can still cast spells, even in that crystal plate armor of the non-orange variety. So that's always a lot of fun. And okay, it seems like we're doing a bit of a transition into Stone Arrow being our new main squeeze here, which, again, is not really anything too extreme. I feel like Stone Arrow is just such a solid spell for the middle stage of the game that it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, but at some point, Fire Magic will hopefully make a resurgence. Again, I'm hoping for Ignition. Ooh, or not, but Starburst is maybe, I'd say, like, third-rate snack at a movie theater. I don't know, I don't eat Starburst much anymore. I feel like I'm too lazy for all the chewing that's required. And I'm more of a savory guy in the first place, which is why popcorn takes the cake. Easy trophy spot #1 on the podium, popcorn. And then maybe, I think Skittles maybe take the second, at least from a sweet perspective. That's my go-to at a movie theater. I think ice caves can show up deeper than volcanoes. You can get the higher tier ones with demons and such, but you might be talking gibberish there. I mean, again, that fits with my experiences in the matter. I can give some amount of confirmation bias, if not officially. Again, if you're looking for definitive statements on the game, I'm not your guy, but if you want some just, this is how I feel, sometimes even feel strongly, then hey, that's my jam. Okay, I feel like I'm in a very torn between saying tangent and tangential, but a tangent-focused mood here today as I just keep going off on any single thing that crosses my mind. I know, maybe it's because I did have a D&D session with my friends yesterday, and whenever I DM for D&D, it definitely puts me in that mood. Sometimes I don't perform as well as I'd like in terms of, you know, improvisation? There we go. Sometimes you just have to slow it all down and go through it step by step, phoneme by phoneme. So, yeah, actually, even with what you were just saying, Thalfun, you might be talking gibberish there. I was 100% confirmed objectively talking gibberish there, so maybe I'm not the right person to have any kind of input on the matter. But I might as well learn Starburst. Oh, whoops. Let's try that again. Memorize Starburst. Sure, why not? Gives us some nice, like, piercing damage that goes through enemies. Could definitely be a lifesaver in a tight spot. I guess there was something else I was looking at here. Right, I was reevaluating the idea of a transition into air magic. I mean, 100%, if this was a 15 rune character, we have the keys to the kingdom with MCC here. So that could, that would be a little bit more straightforward of a decision, I guess, but as is, maybe we just should leave that decision-making shenanigans baloney to future me. And for the time being, things are going pretty smoothly, and we probably don't actually have to worry about it. But Starburst. Or not? Starburst? There we go. Fantastic.